Is that the background you're going with? He's like, what background? There's no background. I live here.
You just the different rooms in my house. I teleport. What are you talking about? I live in a library.
You live in a library?
You did for 3 seconds. You missed it. You missed it. Okay. So what are we doing and how are we doing this?
Garden. Well, I guess first we can talk about real quick the reception so far
Okay,
has been.
let me put this away first before we. Okay. So the reception's been crazy. I mean,
Why? Why has it been crazy from your perspective?
I've said this before, but you when you're creating it, when you're writing it and you think it's good, or when you're recording it and you think it's good, there's going to be, images in your head of how you think people will react, which is what helps you kind of guide it towards how good it is or how good it could be, and if you're lined up properly, then how you think people will react tends to be relatively true. So when it came to the garden, I had a feeling because I knew, at this point I'd come to an understanding in terms of the craft and in terms of rapping that like, no, these individual lines and sections of the song are absolutely good. Like I knew that good. But you're still in your imagination. When you're in that place, you're in your imagination. So you don't really know for sure how people are gonna react. You could be delusional, but the reaction has been exactly the way I imagined it. And then on top of that, more than what I imagined. Now, mind you, I haven't like blown up or anything like that, but just the way people are reacting to the music, the way people are reacting to the garden on TikTok, on Instagram, and the lines that they're focusing in on, it recontextualizes the music for you. Cause mind you, I wrote the garden years ago. So I wrote it years ago. It took me I don't know if the garden took me that long to write, but it took at the very least months, at the very least months. And the reason why I say that is actually, no, that one actually took me years. No, that actually took me years. And the reason why I say that is because the original, The Garden, that first book of secrets, as I feel so inclined, remark me as a liar, margins in every line. That initial section, I wrote that in 24 Jones. I wrote that way back in 24 Jones, which was, I don't even know what that was.
Been
Maybe.
like 2020, 2021.
Yeah, yes, actually, yes, 2020. Right before or during the pandemic.
Yes.
And because I've seen some people reacting as well, which I'm glad that the reaction has been what the reaction has been, because it's like, okay, so this is like, you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, at least to a certain extent. I was trying to write poetry. So that beginning section, I was trying to write poetry. As a matter of fact, those were during the days, I'm sure you remember this, where I was listening to Claire de Lune a lot,
Yes.
over and over and over again.
Over again.
I was writing The Garden and a lot of the other, and a lot, and I think also,
You still
I was
listen to
writing,
this?
not as often. I haven't listened to it in years, actually. But I was writing the first song of the project, Therapy, project coming out soon. But the first portion of the project, Therapy, that first song, I was writing that. And I was also I was writing everything in all different sorts of like, I write this line here, I write that line there, things that I thought were good. I was just trying to chase what I thought was good and then like see if it fit into what I was writing here. But I definitely, each song for the project, for The Lost and the Damned, have been written like in different increments, and each line has been written in different increments and through different variations throughout the years. But I wrote that beginning section of The Garden listening to Claire de Lune, and I was trying to write to Claire de Lune, but not how the beat. Obviously, I wasn't writing to the instrumental. I was writing to how the instrumental made me feel at that moment in time. I was just trying to
How
capture
did
that
it,
feel.
how did it make you feel?
At that moment in time, I mean, The Lost and the Damned, people will probably learn about this later on, but The Lost and the Damned is actually it's about depression, self-loathing, a deep sense of self-awareness. But then again, there's a deep yearning for purpose, which you'll find that narrative of like deep biblical references and allegories all throughout the project. I've played it a million times, you know it.
like a search for meaning.
Yeah, it's a search for meaning, a search for purpose. But then also the lost and the damned is in that space. It's the lack of purpose. It's I mean it's feeling right. And I explained it in the last song, but it's feeling unchosen. You don't feel like you're destined for anything. You don't feel like God's got his hand on you, like you've got I've given you the journey. You know what I'm saying? Like like the major biblical characters
Uh,
that we all know. Like I don't the lost and the damned is kind of alluding to maybe, but at the same time, the deep fear
uh,
and
the lost are
belief.
the people who were. I said the lost. It's in the name,
Right.
right? Lost are, from my perspective, the people who are overlooked in a sense,
In a
right?
sense. In a
Yeah.
sense. I think it's but it's also that deep sense of self-reflection, right? In the garden as well, right? Signed a patron of the desert, left for no mountains to climb, right? I chose to wander till the heat would take its toll. I chose to ponder. It's that deep recognition that like you've played a part too. Like, it's you may think that you've been overlooked, but you haven't put yourself in the position to be seen. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So going back to those like first few lines, I'm trying to understand what you were thinking. First of all, when you wrote down in 24 Jones Book of Secrets as I feel so inclined, right? Where did that come from? Those starting lines.
While I was writing, I mean, that was the idea there was just to address the writing in and of itself. Like I was writing in my book. I have the black book somewhere here, but I was writing in my book
Is that the Book of
and
Secrets?
essentially, but there's also a narrative,
Mm-hmm.
then the high pitched voice plays into that narrative. And I don't necessarily want to give away the narrative because
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of the adventure. But there's also a narrative that attaches to that makes it an absolutely incredible double entendre, triple entendre that connects that high pitched voice with that line. But there, the Book of Secrets, as I feel so inclined, is it's also recognizing that like when it comes to writing, and I've said this as well, this is the last place that you get an opportunity to tell the truth. This is it. Like you don't have any other place to tell the truth. This is your confessional. If you don't tell the truth here, if you can't express yourself on this art, which is literally defined as self-expression, then you won't express it anywhere. This is it. Book of Secrets. This is the last place. If I can't be honest here, I can't be honest anywhere. The garden is a deep self-reflection. Like the whole project is a deep self-reflection, but the garden in particular is a deep self-reflection. It's calling myself out for the roles that I take. But then also, and there's this grandiose element, the poetry of it all, this grandiose element of like of alluding to these greater biblical narratives. What is it? Pinch of salt turned into a dash. That's what is that? Sodom and Gomorrah. When she turned around, she turned into when she turned into a salt pillar. And then I say, and I continue it because I turn around and I peeked back in the dark room and flickered a match because I peeked back in the dark room and flinched in the match. That's that turning around. Like I, hell is behind me, but I didn't necessarily overcome it. So I have to turn back around and I have to face it. And that facing it, that self-reflection. Look deep in the mirror at yourself. See where you've misstepped. But then it also plays into, going back to those grander narratives, it also plays into that being put into like that role no, what is it? Actually, there's a better way of saying it. It's I'm alluding to the grand stage in which you play on
Mm-hmm.
love, marriage, and legacy, purpose, God, heaven, hell, and all the demons that are both underneath us and in front of us. And then I also allude to I'm still a person in the world, like I try to refrain from politics, but you don't escape it. It's a dimension of existence that you just have to deal with. So I allude to the politics of the nation as well. Like I think one of the other ways to say it is like with the garden, And with the whole project, the real perspective here is just a human being in an experience going through, feeling lost and damned. I don't know if there's a heaven or hell on the other side of this. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what will come from this, you know? And I could talk about other lines in therapy that also allude to, but I want to save that for when the song actually comes out. But other lines in therapy that allude to that, like, despite that lack of knowledge, you should still do something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know how things are gonna go. Yeah, and I also allude to it in the garden as well. You're a black man, so there's that layer is also there throughout the song, like that visual, that perspective of a black man in the world, in America, and so on and so forth. And then there's the perspective of an American, like, what is it? I said, and I crashed near Lake Erie after the war. Liberty's bell cracked on its final score. The envious torchbearer, her struggle for more. 7 blessings he gifted, I gave to a whore. And the envious torchbearer is a statue of liberty, alluding back to Liberty's bell cracked on its final score. But that is also a perspective on the fact that sure as hell feels like the empire is falling. And maybe empires don't fall in the same way. Like the cities are going to crumble and then we're all just going to eat each other or something. Like, I don't know. I don't know how empires actually fall. But I think what I'm referring to is the fact that, like, whatever the United States of America used to be, whatever glimmer of what it could be doesn't feel like what it is, nor does it feel like where it's going. So,
I One thing I want to do as well is pretend like I am the listener, right? And I'm the people commenting, right? And I'm also want to see where we can shed light on some of the things that I feel like they might be thinking,
mhm,
right? Liberty's bell cracked on its final score. 7 blessings I gave to a whore. Sounds like you're also talking about a girl, like a
exactly. I haven't, there's at least 3 or 4 layers. That's another thing too with the garden. The whole project, I was absolutely trying to say as much as I possibly could in every single line, every single time throughout the entire project, as much jam-packed information as I could. So there is a narrative as well. The obvious narratives, there's the narrative of myself. That's the most primary narrative. You know, Book of Secrets is I feel so inclined. Remark me as a lot. Like that, there's that narrative, me going through. There is lustful sins of man as the Lord of the Rings, married in fire to desire and whatever it brings, as a narrative of lust and sex throughout the whole. I heard she was wily like the devil, laying a trap, patrolling the crossroads, laying a map, 'cause road running make you lay on your back and outline on the tarmac, darker than black, waiting with a contract, sky high to you nap, the fine lines, plain tracks make you fly to you slack, keep eyes wide, her shake is a sign of attack, she quivers, 'cause arrows are better shot from the back. So that's all about, there's also that sex element out of it. And then also interlayered with that is that narrative between Adam and Eve giving Adam the apple and Adam taking it. And that's the deep recognition. Just the guy, just the human being. I don't necessarily think that I wouldn't not take it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not a perspective. Also, the lost and the damned.
why is it the Adam and Eve thing though? There's a part here where you talk about the rib, or was that? But with my ribs gone, man, it's harder to breathe. Everybody loves that line, right?
Yeah, that was a great line. I wrote
I don't
that.
want to overlook that where you said,
No, no, no. I mean, we could talk about it. I mean, there's a lot, as you can tell, there's a lot to break down
yeah,
in each individual thing, and there's multiple stories that I'm telling with each individual one. Both, like I
yeah,
said, my own narrative, and then on top of that, you have to remember that this is the lost and the damned. So there's also the narrative of literally going through, like, nature, through like these grandiose images of different locations. The desert, Dante's Inferno, all these different aspects of it. But with my
Lake,
ribs gone, say it again.
yeah, Lake Erie and you
But
know
there's
forest
the
trees.
exactly the
Yeah,
trees. of trapped in the wilderness, looking for Eve, but with my ribs gone, man, it's harder to breathe. That there is, I mean, well, obviously the wordplay there is fantastic. When I wrote that, man, when I wrote this whole song, I just, man, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I mean, I was screaming in my room like I thought I was going crazy. I was like, no, dude, is this as good as it is, or am I actually going insane? That's a very difficult place to be. But with my ribs gone, man, it's harder to breathe. That's going back to, and actually, let me just round that out too. But with my ribs gone, man, it's harder to breathe. And they tell me, live strong, bands is all that you need, surrounded by green. Just ignore the blood on the leaves, making love out of greed. You can't afford to slow down. The Garden of Eden's filled with holes, plants and seeds, whatever the season, nigga. And that nigga is also super important too. Every word that I that I said in this song was absolutely painstakingly chosen. But that specific line, alluding back to the sexual nature of the song, alluding back to the lust of it all, but also alluding back to there's one identity that is also important here. And the song, this whole project is about the different identities that stack up to make the person, a human experience and the multiple identities that stack up to make the individual. So there's the Black experience, there's the American experience, so as a person in a nation, as a neighbor, so to speak. There's the spiritual experience, God, man, the devil, who you are and what that is. And then there's the man. I forgot to mention that. That's a really important one. I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a male in the species. So there's that aspect too. And that alludes to that sort of identity wherein my own personal desire is to find the person that I would like to spend the rest of my life. But thank God I already found that person. Remember I wrote this song a while ago, but it's also alluding to that aspect of, at least for me in my own personal journey, because it's not to say that everybody else is going through that or wanting that. I'm looking for that person to complete me, right? I grew up in the church. I grew up, there's also that aspect of my own narrative interwoven growing up in the church. But I grew up in the church, so I've always kind of wanted, the family, the wife, the kids, that destined to be fulfilled in that sort of sense. But then we're in this world. So you're man in this world, and there's that reflection of the world where it reminds you, it's an inverse of the religion in and of itself, right? Where, like, alluding back to that purpose unfulfilled, your rib is out there, right? But the world is reflecting on you different ways that you should posture yourself. That definitely makes it a lot harder to actually find your rib out there. So with my ribs gone, man, it's harder to breathe. Like, you're navigating the world. Remember, this is the lost on the dam. We're navigating the world. You're a man. You're a Black man. You're a spiritual being. You're also Nigerian. You're also all these different aspects, all these different identities stacking up. And one of the most important ones that is in discourse at the moment is the identity of a man. And I'm not doing that sort of red pill, whatever you call it, but it's more so the reflection of, like, going back to the lustful sins of man is the Lord of the Rings married in fire to desire whatever it brings. I'm literally identifying that, like, there's things that we want and that overcome us. And the world reflects upon us. You should posture yourself in a certain way, right? When I myself just want what's already mine, what already belongs to me, what should finish me off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, and there's also with the garden is also the element of, you see how this is why it's difficult to, not difficult, but
I
it's
I, I understand. It's what's the term? What's understood doesn't need to be said, right?
what
It's
that
kind of
needs to be explained. It's like it explain
yeah.
it, because when it comes to this sort of writing, if I've achieved it, which was the element, which was the goal, was to interweave just so many different concepts into each other, narrow, like connecting in a way that aligns so many different things. So the garden is also, there's a theme of green,
Mhm.
theme of money throughout the entire song and throughout the entire project. But there's a theme of that, of green, of money, of yearning for success or yearning for wealth. So the world reflects in that sort of yearning for wealth.
If you replace she or her with a lot of different things in this song, whether that's, an actual love, right? Money, your country, right? America, liberty, right? You can listen to the song and it'll tell a different story based
Yeah,
off of who you place or what you place in that position. But when you're
it is all
saying my rib's gone, it's harder to breathe, and the rib being Eve and or her in that scenario, right? And her being any one of these things, without it, you can't. It's almost like you can't. You're led to believe you can't stand up, right? You
was that.
can't breathe. You can't live. One of the things you said, I just thought it was a hard bar, and I didn't actually catch it until someone in the comments said it, right? And I don't know if you did this on purpose, but you said, after you said, with my ribs gone, man, it's harder to breathe. And they tell me live strong.
Live strong. Bands is
Thank-
all that you need. In
Well, you
elementary
just
school, I used
were
to have
talking about
the Live Strong
strong here.
bands.
Yeah.
I used to have, I used to have
I,
like two or three of them.
I've listened to this song. Maybe I'm the second person on earth that's listened to this song as much as you, right? Second most, right? And I have never
Nobody song as much as me.
you released it, and somebody else commented, right, that you were talking about the Live Strong
Live
band.
Strong band. Yep. Yeah. I was like, that's
Right. That's you won't unless you're generous.
keep that.
Yeah, that's a hidden gem because I've probably listened to that song thousands of times.
Mm.
Anytime you were listening to it, I caught it secondhand, right? And I never caught that bar until you released it, which is just a testament to the level of writing exhibited, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that bar, I honestly I love every single bar that I wrote in this song. I mean, every layer of depth that I wanted to hit, I hit it, and I think I did it absolutely superbly. I mean, not no, I love this song. I mean, when I was writing this song, when I was writing any of these songs, I was writing what I wanted to listen to. I was like, wouldn't it be dope if wouldn't it be dope if this existed? Wouldn't
Mm.
that be really sick? If somebody just rap like in this specific way to this specific song, like that song would be really dope. And I mean, I was really, I was really trying to at a certain point. I was really no, I wrote. I'll be perfectly honest. I wrote the Lost in the Dam for myself. At a certain point, I was content. Like, if I'm the only person that ever listens to this project, so be it. Because
Testify to that,
say
that
again?
I could testify to that you wrote this, right? So that when you hear it, it hits all the elements of great music that is
Yeah, I've come to
important,
understand.
right? Like it's
Yeah,
it's
serious.
yeah, yeah.
I was actually a few things. Maybe this will give some clarity as to why I write the way that I write. For one, a deep concern. I don't know what this says about me, but a deep concern was specifically with this project. I wanted it to be, and this is I'll be as honest as I can be. I wanted it to be as good as it possibly could be. I mean, like as good as it. I mean, like consistently good. I wanted it to be consistently good, even one day after I'm gone. Because if it's consistently good one day after I'm gone, then it'll be consistently good 100 years past when I'm gone. I was really trying to make something that would resonate at a frequency that would last forever, forever. That was my aspiration. It's high aspirations, but I was really trying to make the absolute. And with the Lost in the Dam and with the Garden, I was trying to make the absolute best written, best rapped song I could possibly come up with. I mean, it was at the very edge of my ability and at the very edge of my understanding and lyrical prowess. And it took a long time to write, but it was worth it. Painful, but worth it. And I was really trying to just like I want people to understand that as well. Like this is maximum effort. Like I'm not, I'm not here to spin a story for you that I went into the booth, somebody played this beat for me, and I wrote The Garden in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I wrote it in 3 seconds off the top of my head. I mean, mind you, right? Mind you, I wrote the first rendition of this. I actually wrote the first rendition of this to write with 99 Trip at the time. I wrote the first rendition of like that second half. So like that, see, I peeked back in the dark room all the way to the last of the to the end of the song. I wrote that for a song that I wanted to do, or a verse that I was like, oh, let me just write this with night for 99 Trip. So it had an original version that was not quite as good. We didn't really make that song, but there was something about that from see, I peaked all the way to the end. I was like, there's something here that I have to finish. There's something here that I absolutely have to finish. So I kept going back. I kept tweaking it.
Honestly, when you start that peak back in the dark room, right? You leave Earth to me.
I was trying to.
Yeah,
I was
you,
legitimately
you,
trying to. I was trying to elevate off my chair.
yeah, like
I was
damn.
trying to fly. But I wrote that for that, and I kept coming back to it, and I kept tweaking it, and I kept tweaking it, and I kept tweaking it. And the tweaking isn't like sometimes I'd rewrite a whole line, but like the tweaking was, and it's really detailed. Like, should I say the word to here, or should I say the word a here? Should I say the word the? Because if I say the and then this word, this story goes in this direction. What story am I actually trying to tell here? Which will tell me exactly what word to use. So it was a lot of that for a long time. And then at a certain point, I was deep in the process of writing a lot of The Lost and the Damned. I was deep in the process of making a lot of the songs there, finding a lot of the instrumentals. And I came across this beat. This beat. Can we talk about this beat? This beat. When I saw this on YouTube, I first heard it, I was like, okay. All the bones and all the flesh and all the meat was there. I was like, okay. But I was rapping something else to it first. And I was like, okay. And then I started rapping because what I would do is when I find a beat that I like this beat by Puda, shout out to Puda. But when I start rapping to a beat like this, I go through all the lyrics that I have. How about this one? How about this one? How about this one? And then I came to Book of Secrets, or not Book of Secrets. I think I did See I Peaked, and then it was hitting all the right places. I was like, oh, okay. And then I recognized that because I had just the latter half, the See I Peaked all the way to the end. I recognized I'm like, it needs more, right? So I rearranged the beat. I extended that first portion, just the instrument to the by, you know, what is it? Fading it in, like, increasing the volume because it slowly builds in the beginning. Also, that is essentially, it's like sunrise. Now you're in the garden. Welcome to sunrise. You're in the garden now. That's where the beat. It was perfect. As when I heard that, and then I started doing. Then I started doing Book of Secrets. I said, okay, hold on, and then I did Book of Secrets, and then I finished that section of it. I didn't know where to end that, but I finished that section of it when I got to the Will I Make It Alone. That's when I first wrote that Will I Make It Alone. I said, because it was real. It was really real. So that first section, I wrote that first section. I had that instrumental. I at that point I rearranged it in my head before I rearranged it in on Pro Tools on my computer. But I just knew like this is crazy. But mind you, okay, a little bit more. So mind you that the full song actually so now that's See I Peaked, right? That's See I Peaked all the way to the end. I actually did that so you can actually find it online. I took that because I was going to use it for 99 Trip, but there was like a few different versions of it. So I kept going back to this as well as putting it out there. I did a version of it on a J Electronica beat. I did a version of it on what's the name of that beat? I don't know. It's Swagger. I don't think it's Swagger Jackson's Revenge. I think it's that one. Forgot the name of the beat. Forgive me.
It's not tryptamine? I can't hear you. One sec.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you for whatever reason. Am I still audible?
Yeah, I could hear you on my computer.
What? Yeah, I couldn't hear you when you started talking. After I said dimethyltryptamine, I stopped being able to hear you through my computer. Strange thing.
I'm finding that J Electronics as well.
You can still hear me on your computer? Should be. I mean, what I could do is I could
The announcement.
the announcement. Okay.
That was the announcement. It's like the announcement.
Well, what I could do is I could. I don't want there to be an echo. Hear you. Can't hear you through my computer. It's not giving me any rhyme or reason why either.
Let me just restart the computer. But I'm also gonna hang up.
Well, wait.
Or should I keep on the phone?
Keep on the phone. We don't want to end the recording. No,
If I click something, can you hear me now?
I can't hear you through the computer.
Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you through the computer. I don't know why.
Should I leave? Maybe I could leave and come back? Is that bad?
No, you can leave and come back. I'll be here.
Okay, maybe I can try again.
Yeah. Yep.
You can hear me on the computer now?
Yeah, I can.
I think sometimes my phone connects to the computer and it starts trying to take over the audio. I don't know why it does that.
Are you plugging it in with your wire?
No, I'm not plugging anything in.
Okay.
It's like I think the desire to connect your Mac and your phone has had an inverse effect where it's trying to do that automatically and that's interrupting our recording. So I think it's like something that they were trying to do right, but just worked against us just now. But all right, back to what I was saying. Yeah, I took a lot of lessons from Jay Electronica and Kendrick Lamar, and this song it took inspiration from dimethyltryptamine in the way that he explains this wild vision, but also describing America. He mentions the grassy knolls. You understand what I'm talking about? He mentions, I forgot the lyrics, but it's like a mind bending landscape to a certain extent of just incredible imagery. I love that sort of incredible imagery. That was so one of the things that I learned from Jay Electronica. I like the imagery, but it's the weight of his words. The way he says the bars that he says just makes every bar feel so unbelievably heavy. I was so when I during my own practice and trying to understand bars, flows, lyrics, all that, when coming across Jay Electronica and listening to his work, his lyrics were just so dense that I was just like, I feel like this is what we should be doing, right? Like, and like just I mean, like, isn't that the point? Like, at the pinnacle of the craft, like, we should be saying things that mean something, that really land. And then my lessons from Kendrick Lamar was real simple. Perspective, your own narrative, talk about what you're going through, where you're coming from, one of the things that I like to say about Kendrick was, and I probably said this like a bunch, but one of the things that I really like to say about Kendrick is like he's a perfect example of you'll miss it if you're not careful. If you're not careful, if you're not listening to Kendrick carefully, you'll miss it. Some people will say that Kendrick is like the perfect rapper because he comes from the places that he comes from. He's talking about all the absolutely main topics of discussion when it comes to rap, when it comes to the culture, when it comes to the craft. He's definitely perfectly in those veins and he does it really, really well. But this is what's so great about Kendrick. First of all, he's a master of the craft. Second of all, Kendrick isn't talking about the hood because, when you're rapping, you're supposed to talk about the hood. You're supposed to talk about this or that. No, don't miss it. Don't miss it. Kendrick just so happens to be from the hood. He's just telling his story. Go to his catalog. Kendrick tells his story from Section 80. Then he goes to Good Kid, Mad City. Then he goes to Pimp a Butterfly. But mind you, if Kendrick talked, if like, and this is where people miss it, like if the point was to talk about the hood, then after Good Kid, Mad City, we'd get like a few more Good Kid, Mad Cities, and maybe we'd get a few more Section 80s, because those are definitely generally sectioned around all the main topic. You know what I mean? Like if you're talking about something that really hits the vein of hip hop, Good Kid, Mad City is a great example. Absolutely great example. But Kendrick doesn't do that on To Pimp a Butterfly. What he does is in To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick tells a story of somebody who came from Compton, California, who achieved success, who came from the hood, and now he's in the midst of fame. He's in the midst of celebrity. He's in the midst of all the things that come with that. And he's questioning his own purpose and his own destiny. as he goes through that and all the temptations that come with that and all the, it's just like, right,
and
he's still telling his story.
whether he should, you know, save the homies too.
Right,
Like,
right, right. And he's, mind you, he's still
what
alluding to all
what
the things.
yeah,
Say, go ahead.
survivor's bias, basically, or
Right, right, right. That's a perfect
survivor's guilt. Yeah,
survivor's bias. Fantastic.
yeah.
And he's still alluding to all the things that we recognize. Like, I think the craft and the culture are one and the same. I think some people don't recognize that. That's why they put their foot in their mouth after they become famous. You know what I'm saying? You forget that the craft and the culture are one and the same. Rap was built in the culture. So pay respect to it. Understand that, like, so I'm Nigerian, so I consider myself a guest. So I make sure that when I'm practicing this craft, and this is a rule of art that supersedes rap, but it works all the way through it because it's a rule of art. Nobody's ever going to get mad at the person who expresses themselves and then they express themselves in the craft at the highest level. Who gets mad at that guy? Who's going to get mad at the guy that is expressing himself, but expressing themselves at a really high level, even if they're not necessarily the quintessential, the cardboard cutout of a rapper. You understand what I'm saying? At
I
least
I'm
stereotypical.
there's a couple things I want to say on that, if you don't mind. I think yes, when you're adopting or participating in a medium, right, you need to have a good understanding and good sense of the history of the medium and the shoulders that you're standing on
Right.
to be able to reach the microphone, so to
Mhm.
speak, right? You're standing on a lot of shoulders,
Right.
but you're
And if you
also
want to engage, you have to engage with the people in which the craft comes from. You understand that? Like, yeah.
yeah, but you're also standing on the shoulders of just music and art,
Yes.
as right? So you're in this genre, which is hip hop, right? But you're also in this bigger context as well, or, you know, equally important context, let's say, which is art and music, which is human, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, as long as you can keep that understanding, that awareness, right, you can participate,
You can
right?
participate. You can always
When
participate.
you can
Like that,
participate,
you
yeah,
can participate. And then that's the, and I think there's definitely people that have missed that understanding that, like, you want to, like I said, you want to engage with the craft and you want to engage with the people in which the craft comes from. That's the craft. Rap comes from a very specific group of people, like pure and simple. Like that's it. So you have to be able to engage at least to a certain extent. And one of the best ways to engage isn't to necessarily, and this is where a lot of people make the mistake too, which is why I was going back, what I was referring to Kendrick Lamar in perspective. And which also, perfect. It ties back into why I said I made the music for myself. If I tried to make what even you, because I know you, if I tried to make what you like, I would make a bad song. I would make a bad song. If I
mm,
tried to make, cause I don't know what you like. Not necessarily. I can get an idea of what you like. But and think about that too, break that down. I get an idea. Bio likes hip hop. So now I'm making a rendition of hip hop that I think Bio might like.
mm,
I'm like 3 steps removed from actually just rapping.
mhm.
I'm not actually like making a song. I'm not making a song. I'm making something that I think Bio will like. And to a certain extent, you can definitely, I'm not completely shying it away as something that nobody should do. You can definitely make a career off that, but you have to understand, if you're trying to make something that people like, you're always behind the trend because somebody already made the thing that they liked. Now you're making a shadow of that thing to
Yeah,
try and get on the tail end, as much as you can on that thing so that Bio can like it too. That will definitely garner you some success and that will definitely garner you something. But when it comes to, and my aspiration was I was trying to make a song. I was trying to make, like, referring back to, I was trying to make the best thing that I could possibly make. I was really deeply inspired, and I was aspiring for the highest level of quality that I could possibly achieve. I was curious in my own journey through this craft. What does Cola at like the highest level of the craft? What does that sound like? What do I rap like at that level? And I was and when it came to listening to these artists, I would love to get career advice from Kendrick or from, a variety, a slew of artists that I've left and listened to, and I welcome it absolutely. But what inspired me, what I sat in my room contemplating and replaying in my head was the quality of their work, the way they moved through those lyrics, the way they moved through those bars, the things that they said, the way that they said it. I was really just like, I don't care if you pay me. I just want to do what that dude just did. Like I was really I just want to do what that dude just did. And then I wanted to do it as good as that dude. And I wanted to take what that dude just did. I want to take it to the next level. I was really the aspiration as well was whatever pedestal that because sure there might be a slight accusation of pedestalization here, but I recognize that. And that I use it as a strength. So I'm like, where Kendrick Lamar actually is where Kendrick Lamar actually is. What we put him in our head is probably higher than that. I said, let's put even higher than that. Let's put him at this ridiculous pedestal and then let's aim for that. So wherever I land in the aspiration for whatever pedestal that I've put this person on, forget shooting for the stars. I'm shooting for a whole nother universe. I want to see where I land on that regard so that when I actually get the evaluation of the work, I'm a lot closer, maybe even further than I could have ever possibly imagined. So I was really shooting for but that aspiration led to me recognizing that in that I can only make music that I know is good and that I want to hear. Because I know what I want to hear. That's the thing too. Like best way to know what people want to hear is to make what you want to hear.
There's enough people out there that wanted to hear the same thing.
Exactly. You're not, and that's the thing too. When you write something, when you make something good in that space artistically, it's not like you're creating something that people haven't never heard before. If you made something good, then you've made something new because you've made something that people haven't heard before. But you have to understand that you're not like completely removed from humanity. So whatever you've made, people will like because you still made something that we can understand, right? That's why you build something within a craft. That's why you get your message through that craft. We understand that craft. If you've mastered the craft and then you add your own narrative to it, you're winning. You've literally hit the jackpot. You've done it. Like the thing that these other guys are doing, which is what I fixated on for years in terms of quality, is a combination of mastery. So 10,000 hours, 20,000 if you possibly could, 10,000 hours. And then, and this is so absolutely crucial, you must tell your story. And I mean that in the deepest sense that like
People find that hard.
like what I learned throughout The Lost in the Dam, because I mentioned this project is about depression as well, but it's also about hope. But to express hope, you have to express the absolute length of despair. That's what this was. Expressing the length of that despair, expressing the extent of how I felt. And the best way to describe it was Lost in the Dam. Then the best way on top of that was to express in other deep imagery throughout the project, just what that meant. I'm talking.
I don't know if you're willing to share, but just again, kind of think like I am one of the fans, right? What were your circumstances that made you feel like the lost and damned, right? And that's the journey, right, that you went on to become who you are today.
I guess on a practical level, it's for one, we'll start there. I went into college. I mean, that's not the beginning of my story, but this helps to explain it. But I went into college not knowing, I mean, I had an idea of wanting to, but it's mostly because it's mostly because I liked entertainment, television, film. I liked music. I liked video games. I just love entertainment, but I didn't know what I wanted to do in it. So I went into college pretty aimless. Before that, I was pretty aimless. My aspiration for quite some time in my life was to do nothing, to be unburdened by responsibility. I got what I asked for. And at the bottom of nothing, if you can guess, is nothing. Now, if you can survive the bottom of nothing, everything is up from there. Everything is up from there. So that was that. The Lost in the Dam was trying to express, and this is also for the artist too. There's a lot going on in this project. I really tried to jam pack so much into this, and I think I did it really well. But
I think so.
I think I did it really well. But I think, there's also the plight of the artist. There's that narrative as well. What is it? On the eve of the morn, before I finally make it home, will I make a move or atone? Will I make it alone? is that I didn't discover rapping until further on into college. And then at that point, life is already pretty set. So I have a degree here that I don't know what to do with. Opportunities are looking pretty dim. I wasn't feeling the best about myself physically. I was about 300. I was closer to, I was on the way up to 300. That's a whole nother story. But I was on the way up to 300.
That at a certain point,
Say it again?
when you pass 300 pounds,
No, no, no. The maximum was 300. At about 300 pounds is where I asked myself, and you should ask yourself this if you're going through it as well. How does this end? How does this end? You go to 400, you just keep eating. You know what that looks like? And then how do you think that's gonna affect your lifespan? And there's also this aspect of the lost and the damned as well, this confrontation of your own mortality, you know? Was that line by Mike? Somebody mentioned Mike in the comments. I don't know if we're talking about the same Mike here, but Mike with the Earl sweatshirt, there's a line where I just keep replaying it over my head every once in a while. Was living to awake. So there's definitely that. It's like a blessing and a curse. You're very much so aware of your own mortality, but then at the same time, it allows you to look around you and like when moments come where you can feel like immense joy, like you're on a vacation, you're with family and friends, I definitely feel it the most. Like I can feel that immense joy. When you deeply recognize your own mortality, you start to really appreciate experience in and of itself. Like, oh wow, this is thank God. Like, thank God, what a wonderful son. I hope it lasts forever.
mm,
But it's a gift in that sense, but then it's a curse in the other sense where it's just like it's recognized that one day the story ends. And what do you what are you gonna make of this experience? It's another reason. It's another layer of the lost and the damned. Like that hope is also what I like to say to people, or what I like to say is the lost and the damned is about the lost and the damned. By making the project and expressing just how deeply you feel inadequate, fear, hopelessness, lost, feel like your only destination is down and not up, by actually doing that and expressing that, as low as it may feel, you actually give yourself hope because you've made something, you've created something, and you've taken all these things that you felt and you've now put it into something else. And I like to personally, I like when things achieve, which is why I write in such dense manner, inspired by writers like Jay Electronica, but also because I like when something achieves multiple things at the same time. So in creating The Lost in a Dam, you express, and it's a sense of release. It's lethargic. You give yourself an avenue for a new adventure. So you create hope in that sense as well. And because The Lost and the Damned is about depression, you give yourself purpose. The Lost and the Damned is about the lost and the damned. Making it was reigniting purpose, was keeping the flame alive, was keeping me alive. What's that line from Kendrick Lamar, from Kendrick Lamar's The Heart Part 2? What keeps you alive? What keeps you alive? Music and anything.
mm.
Right. Remember that?
Music, if
Yeah.
anything. Mm.
Say it again?
I said just the music, if anything.
If anything, it'll
Yeah.
keep you alive. So the lost and the damned achieve multiple purposes. And then it'll also allowed me, and this is another thing too. This was the lost and the damned. I also like to say this in the school of hip hop. This is my dissertation.
Mm.
This was, I said, I need a final project because now I can officially with confidence say that I've graduated. But to be able to say that, I need to accumulate everything that I've learned and actually make a work out of it. In my personal opinion, I believe The Lost and the Damned is a masterpiece. Or at the very least, that was the aspiration. So you will get that aspiration. If Till Darkness in the Garden is any indication of the project, then I was trying to, and I believe I achieved something like a masterpiece. I spent 10,000 or more hours mastering something. I believe I achieved the understanding of that craft. And then on top of that, I created a piece at the absolute pinnacle of the mastery of the craft. Nothing but the absolute best. Kept it condensed to a few songs, absolutely focused, absolutely focused. And it took years. And I know that in this day and age, that's another thing about the Lost in the Garden too. The garden alludes to a lot. There's another line in there. You can't afford to slow down. The Garden of Eden's filled with hoes, planting seeds, whatever the season, which goes to all the different narratives that have been playing throughout the song. And it also alludes to the fact that, like, in this economy, you want to go sit down and make a project for years without any sort of foundation, without any money whatsoever. What, for the love of the craft? And also going back to the United States, I make the allusion to the fact that, like, I also believe the United States is a good allegory for the Jews in the desert with Moses trying to get to the promised land. But this place was, I believe, at least one of the veins that runs to this place is an aspiration for a sort of promised land where all different sorts of races, all different sorts of people can achieve, can develop, can provide for themselves and for their family. They won't go hungry. They can have their health situated. And also, going back to the garden again, that theme of green, that theme of greed, I believe this place, and I don't think it's a problem that you're going to resolve by a different system, because you don't resolve greed. You don't resolve greed through different system. That's a human issue. Going back to the garden and the reason, one of the reasons why I emphasize that self-reflection, because at the end of the day, the lustful sins of man is the Lord of the Rings, married in fire to desire and whatever it brings. That has nothing to do with whatever system we establish. That is entirely human. Hence why a lot of the project is biblical. A lot of the project is spiritual, a yearning for heaven, because I don't think and also a lot of the project is a confrontation with God, devil, all these different things. I believe that's the battle that we're facing. That's the eternal war, and it lives within each man. It lives within each. There's a narrative going through the project that explores that as well. But that's the war, and that's not resolved by different systems. That doesn't get erased, or at least I don't think so. Could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe there's a perfect system out there that somehow usurps our own innate nature that can land us in greedy behavior, lust, yearning. And then that lust also interwoven with the sexual aspect of the song too. And then it's all of that. And this is so important. This is where I learned from Kenneth Lamar. Like, I can talk about these things, but you have to talk about it from your lens, like from your perspective. Like, and it's not just to say, don't point fingers. I try to avoid doing that too. Like, look at this country. Look how bad it is. It's like, no, I'm a citizen of the United States. What did I say? 7 blessings he gifted, I gave to a whore. That whore, the Statue of Liberty, that greed, this beast that we feed. I want money too. I want success too. I want all the things everybody else wants. I want everything. So that was all the layers that I tried to jam pack into the song and tried to express. There's a political layer. There's also the black layer as well, which is, there's like that inverse as well, because who do you hear that from? The lust, the Garden of Eden's filled with hoes, planting seeds, whatever the season, nigga. That's the culture reflecting back on you too. Like, get your head on straight, nigga. Bread, bands is all that you need. Get the bread, get the money. The Garden of Eden's filled with
And
hoes, planting seeds, whatever the season, nigga. So you're getting that reflection from everywhere.
just ignore the blood on the leaves.
Just ignore the blood on the leaves. And then, and I think it so beautifully goes back into the Lost in the Dam, where it's just like, oh shit, this is the environment that I'm in. Keep on keeping on. Remain lost and damned. The next song after that it's actually The Lost. That one is tip of the iceberg.
That
I-
that's competing for my
that
first song as
that
well.
that one I also think is, in terms of lyrics, but yeah,
Yeah.
The Garden is
Ouch.
a complex narrative of an individual. It's also a narrative. So that's like that grandiose, like, I chose to wander to the heat would take it. Like, there's also a narrative going on as well.
What number track is The Garden on the project?
It is number 4. It is the 4th song on the project.
So
Perfectly placed, I think. Perfectly placed.
quick place I was gonna say,
Yeah.
because I do notice a shift at this song? Because the song before this is the villain, right?
Y'all ain't heard the villain yet either.
Okay, yeah. So
That, that's a
so
spoiler. That's a spoiler.
my bad, my bad.
No, no, that's all right. It's all right. We can leave that there.
Yeah,
Yeah, before that one is the villain. Yes.
the only reason I and we'll get a chance to talk about everything when
Yeah.
it all comes out. But the only reason I bring that up is because I noticed that this song potentially is a turning point in the energy, right?
Yeah.
Feel like
Yeah.
you into this very spiritually enlightened level or frequency with this song. And I noticed it too in the course of you making the project, right? And the latter songs sort of feel just like we've left Earth at this point, right?
Yeah.
So, what
Yeah.
was the fourth song you made by any chance?
Say it again.
Was it also the fourth song you completed?
So these songs kind of came in a variety of different orders.
Okay.
Variety of different orders. A lot of this stuff, man. So here's, I don't know if I should burst this slight bubble, but I think maybe not a bubble. Maybe it's not a bubble, but it's more so that like so when I watch, and I'll get to it. Trust me. When I watch like those breakdown videos of like Kendrick Lamar lyrics or like Jay Electronica lyrics, and people will get into like he wrote this number here, then he wrote it this many times, and then there was this other thing here. So he was saying 400 and something. I'm just like, how did he? How is he doing that? How do you even? I don't think I've ever incorporated math into the lyrics before. I mean, I'm sure if I wanted to, I could.
I have a
But
theory. But continue.
I have a theory on that too, which is where I'm getting to. My theory is, I think when you write at a certain frequency,
Mm.
you tap onto the best way I can say it is something like connective tissue. When you write onto a certain frequency, you tap on the connective tissue. So Kendrick will write, or JLX, or Jay-Z, or you name it, a variety of people who definitely reach that frequency. You write at a certain thing, and then people will go in there and be like, he said this, and then he said this, and then I almost guarantee you, that a good portion of them didn't mean to do that. What I mean is like at a certain frequency, it's just serendipity. Now you're just tapping onto like
You're
this.
in alignment.
Exactly. You're in connective layers now that like I didn't even know I was making that sort of connection. So going back to the question that you asked, when I was writing the project, a lot of the different verses, a lot of the choruses are written at different times. So I wrote like Till Darkness' chorus at a way different time than I wrote any of the other verses. But I would say maybe the reason why the connective tissue is there is because while I was writing it, I was always in that same space. So I was writing in that same vein.
Mm-hmm.
But then like some of it, mind you, I do like to write in order. So I do try and write Till Darkness is verse, then Till Darkness is second verse, then Till Darkness is third verse. But there are some verses that I've written before I've written the other ones. Some choruses that I've written way later, way before. The beginning of the garden, like I said, I wrote it way before, and then I wrote the rest of the garden much later. But there are definitely some points in which I write the choruses and the verses and everything at different intervals. But I would prefer to write it in order because it definitely helps me organize everything a lot better. But some of the verses just really just came together. Like when I wrote those choruses, like some of the choruses they just came together. It was just like, that's crazy. That just works. But yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't have any more comments or questions. I think there was one I was gonna come back, which was the ending when you say nigga, right?
Yeah, that's important too. That adds on to, so I don't use that word like willy-nilly. Like,
Yeah, with
I'm
abandon.
big on choosing your words. Say it again.
No, I said you don't use the word with reckless abandon.
No, I don't use it with reckless abandon. Mind you, in conversation, I might use it often, but
Yeah.
when it comes to the music, I'm very much so a big proponent of choosing your words wisely and carefully. So when I put that there, that was the reflection back into the culture. Remember, in the midst of being an American, Remember, in the midst of being a man, remember, in the midst of being a spiritual being that is yearning for purpose, seeking companionship, trying to develop and understand, that's in this point of deep self-reflection, that is in this crazy experience. Remember, in the midst of all that, still black, still a nigga, my nigga. Remember that. That is a layer of reality that you're just gonna have to deal with. It's a very, very heartbreaking layer of reality. It's a very, very heartbreaking layer of reality. Just like people walking around there just convinced that because of their pigmentation, they're superior to other people. And then they're gonna act in that way. And then on top of that, how it's reflected onto the culture, how it's, how we've had to, how Black people, how they've developed because of it. And then it
Mhm.
leads to this point in hip hop where Garden of Eden is filled with hoes planting seeds, whatever the season, my nigga. Like, get your money, get your bread, forget the hoes, forget that love shit, forget the yearning for purpose and all that and whatever. Get the money, get the bread, be successful. To make ends meet in the garden, you got to embrace the greed, essentially. You got to embrace it, and it's kind of disheartening. And it's that like, it's also, I mean, obviously it's the grand allusion to Adam and Eve. The Bible, Garden of Eden, so will hoes plant the seeds, whatever the season. That's how the story goes. So it's just like, I think it only adds to that lost experience, right? Because you are what you are, right? But then the world is what it is. So what are you going to do about it? And that's what that deep self-reflection of the garden is. That, like, here's the circumstance. Here's your circumstance. Here's all the layers of your identity and how it affects you. What are you going to do about it? And then also, how do you feel? Back to the lost and the damned. But yeah, those are, that line, the whole song in and of itself. And it is the sexual nature of it is also,
Action I gotta make too.
go ahead.
The title,
Right.
right? The title's The Garden, and we just happen to be from the
In the
garden.
garden state.
Yeah, New
That was
Jersey.
not on purpose. Somebody also said that the apple, New
The
York, and
I,
I said,
yeah, the Apple, New York,
no,
New Jersey, right? So the Lost and Stand might just be Jersey niggas.
it might be. But the apple is, there's a way that and you know it from the last song. I won't name the last song, but people will find out eventually. But there's a way that I tie everything back into the image of the project,
Mm,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah, the garden, the lost and the damned. It is, for those who saying realist. I was really trying to go there, as real as possible, as self-reflective as possible, as human as possible. That is the key perspective here. Just a guy, just an experience, and in all the layers of that experience, and all the ways that my perspective compartmentalizes and describes those experiences. That high-pitched voice plays into that narrative. Figure that one out later on. But it all ties back into, Cola, KO, as real as it could possibly be, as real as it gets. Like, I don't know how to explain it
Visceral.
any. Say it again?
Like it's visceral.
Visceral, yes, yes.
It's almost uncomfortable, right? That real, that,
That's
yeah.
the
Yeah.
point. Very, very human. Like, I think that's, I also think that's the angle that we should be talking from. That's my thesis. That's also, hence the
The
dissertation.
final layer, right? That's the final. That's the final. Layer.
That's the layer that gives every other layer meaning. It's
You
the
strip
layer.
every way. You strip where you're from. Who your parents are. Which team you rep, and you're just human.
You're just a bean. You're
Yeah.
just a bean, and I mean, we all yearn for purpose. We all hope to go to a better place. We all hope to live a really good life. We all hope to be successful. I think the garden encapsulates all of that. I think the lost in the dam encapsulates all of that. And also this is another nice Easter egg. If I finish the project this year or next year, it will be absolutely biblical, because it would then be about 7 years to make the project. And you'll know why.
Mm-hmm.
This year would be 6 years. Next year would be 7 years.
Yeah. I think that well, I'm already saying that that's how it's gonna be.
It will be. It will be.
I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure
it's gonna.
I can bank on it that that's how it's gonna end up being. Yeah.
I think at the very least, and maybe I'll say this to close off. To all the people, this has been crazy. All the people. I mean, you post your stuff on the internet, and I'm sure everybody boosts. We all do. But it doesn't mean people have to react. It doesn't mean people have to like it. It doesn't mean people have to comment. It doesn't mean people have to send me messages. It's been, I think the success for me has always been the reaction. And maybe, I don't know if, for some people that's just not enough, but for me, I just wanted to see what people thought. It's just, what did you think? Like, what did let's talk about it. Because I could talk about it all day, but to all the people that have responded and liked it and keep running it up, I literally cannot thank you. I literally, there's no words. This has been a painstaking journey to make this project and to make that song in particular. But I appreciate I literally go to the comments. I like every single one. And not because I'm just trying to, I actually like every single one. Thank you. I actually like that. That's a great
I
comment. That's a great gift. That's a,
yeah.
but I appreciate that seriously. And The Lost and the Damned is coming soon. It's been, every artist has probably experienced this before. It's money. The Garden. It's money. It's money. Money.
Yeah.
But it's almost done. I'm trying to finish it in the vision that I had in the beginning, and all
Mhm.
with the project came through. So that's why it has taken as long as it has. The lyrics were deeply thought out, very carefully arranged. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And as real as I could possibly muster. I mean, I was going for foundational information, knowledge, experience, and I was just trying to express that. Hopefully, I can bring it out this year. I'm trying to bring it out this year, but I won't stop. Literally, sorry, let me I won't stop. Like, if I've been going this long, it's just not, I won't stop. So to all the people that are telling me not to stop, I appreciate that too. That's very motivational, and it's small, but it's more than I've ever imagined. So thank you. And it's not small. If 100 people were to stand outside your house and clap for you, you think you're,
No,
you think you're pretty great. You know, you think you come outside and 100 people are clapping for you, like, hey, you'd be like, this is great. So 1,000, 6,000 likes or, what have you, or whatever on some of these videos is nuts. Because as far as I'm concerned, I think you can only like something once. So that means at least 6,000 people thought this was pretty cool, thought this was worth listening to or not, or worthy of a like. But other than The Lost in the Dam, there's still more that I'm definitely working on as well, that I'm going to be getting out there. But thank you, Key. Thank you. I don't really have any other thing to say.
all right.
Yeah. Hopefully, and that too, hopefully this explanation has been helpful. It's very dense. So there's a lot of layers to try and uncover. So I tried my best to do so, it's funny enough, the reason why you write lyrics like that is because it's very hard to explain. So, you know what I'm saying?
it, what's it?
Like, even as and it's so interesting too, because I'm the which only gives credence to the notion that you're a conduit. You're not the source. You're a conduit. You're a portion of the source, but you're a conduit to the things that you're able to bring forth,
Yeah.
especially if they align, like they really aligning the garden with like real grooves, like having the lyrics in my head and then actually aligning it with the real grooves of the song is just one hell of an experience. If you have the opportunity of taking something out of your head, actually molding it into reality so that it hits real grooves that aren't just imagination, but like actually it's in its place and it's actually made correctly, it will always be better than what you thought possible. It will always be better than your imagination. Reality is stranger and better than fiction, in my opinion. So,
Well said. All right.
all right. Hopefully that helped.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, all right. Good night. It is what, it's nearly 2 a.m. All right. Good night. And I guess we'll talk about the clips and stuff later on.
Yeah.
All right.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.